This is a book called A Seed is Sleepy. It's by Diana Hutz Aston and Sylvia Long. What are those? I'll take a picture of this so that you can see all these different shapes and types of seeds come from different plants. A seed is sleepy. This is a close-up of a sunflower. Okay, so sunflower and all of those dried sunflower seeds that sometimes we eat, right? A seed is sleepy. It lies there, tucked inside its flower, on its cone or beneath the soil, snug, still. A seed is secretive. It does not reveal itself too quickly. Most seeds sleep through a season or two, waiting for the warmer temperatures of spring. But some take their time. 10 years might pass before the bright red-orange seed of the Texas mountain laurel shows its purple blooms. Remember, the blooms are those very first parts of making the flower. A seed is fruitful. 90% of the plants on Earth, so that means almost all of them, 90% of them are flowering plants. That means they make flowers. We know when they make flowers what happens next. Flowering plants produce fruits. Fruits of all shapes and textures that keep the seeds cozy until they have found just the right place to grow. Sorry, my cat. Who would guess that a seed as small as a freckle would grow into the world's tallest tree? A seed is naked. Yes, naked. Scientists call gymnosperms seeds that aren't clothed, so seeds that are naked. In fruits, naked seeds. Most naked seeds hide themselves on the scales of cones until they're ready to make a dash for the ground. So the type of tree that they're talking about is a redwood tree. And redwood trees grow in California. They are the plant or the tree that can grow the tallest in the world. They're very tall and they're beautiful. Sometimes you'll hear them called sequoias. Only 10% of redwood trees, so only some of them, not very many, begin as seeds. Most redwood trees, these big tall guys, spring from existing trees. And we know in the trees that we see, especially around here, these kinds of pine trees, we'll see the green kind of weird looking pine cone, and then we'll see it get brown and harden, and then it falls to the ground, just the way that we find them on our streets, on our yards, and in the grass, right? Maybe if you're walking at a park. And that is how it gets out its seeds. Seeds come in many sizes. The orchid seed is the smallest of all. There might be 1 million seeds in one pod, and that's a pod. 1 million, 2 million, 3 million seeds from one plant. The seed of the Coco de Mer palm is the largest. It can weigh up to 60 pounds. Here it is right here. 60 pounds is about as much as some of you might weigh. A seed is adventurous. It must strike out on its own in search of a less crowded place to put down roots. Why do you think it might need a place that's not very crowded? What do you think? This is a dandelion. A parachute of fine, silky hairs can take a dandelion seed 100 miles from its parent plant. Drift seeds float on ocean currents from one shore to another. They have enough air inside to help them float. So think of a volleyball or a tennis ball, any kind of a ball that has air in it. It'll float on the water, won't it? And their thick, protective shells keep out seawater. Remember in our other book, we learned about coconuts. Think about how hard that coconut is and how easy or how difficult it would be to break it open and get into it, right? So if it can make it to another shore and find a good ground to root in, it might grow into another plant, unless an animal or a person gets to it first, right? To find a spot to grow, a seed might leap from its pod or cling to a child's shoestring or tumble through a bear's belly, right? A seed hopes to land where there is plenty of sunlight, soil, and water. We know that. We know that plants need sunlight, soil, and water, right? A seed is generous. It gives the baby plant or embryo a seed coat to keep it warm. And then I will take a picture of this. This is pretty cool. You can see how a bean, rice, pumpkin, pine, and teak tree all grow from their seeds. The embryo's first meal comes from its seed leaves or cotyledons. Seeds with one seed leaf, like corn, are called monocots. Seeds with two seed leaves, like beans, and you can see them right there, 1, 2, are called dicots. Okay, so this is inside the bean. These are the two little leaves that are going to start coming out. We know that beans grow really quickly, right? We could plant a bean, and within just a couple of days, you might have little tiny plants shooting through the soil, right? Some seeds are ancient. Ancient means very, 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 very old. Not all seeds are eager to germinate. Some have lain dormant or slept undisturbed for more than 1,000 years. The oldest known seed to sprout came from an extinct date palm tree after it was unearthed from a long ago king's mountaintop palace in Israel. A scientist planted it. 4 weeks later, it sprouted. That's amazing, isn't it? That means it was a seed, somehow managed to survive for 1,000 years and was still so healthy inside of it that it was able to make itself grow into a plant. That is absolutely amazing. A seed is thirsty and hungry. Who else is thirsty and hungry? Any living thing, right? Once a seed has shed its coat, it drinks in the rain, the dew, and yesterday's icicles. It feasts on minerals in the soil. Now, this is a bean. Part of the seed, the root, feels the tug of gravity and digs down deep. So remember, gravity is what keeps us from floating around, right? We don't have gravity in space. That's why astronauts can float through the air. But on Earth, we're constantly being pulled on by gravity. That's why when I take my earring and do this, it falls back down. Now, if I was in space, I might do this and it would stay floating like this, right? But gravity doesn't let that happen on Earth. And it's the same thing with the way a plant grows. So gravity pushes it down into the soil to get its roots growing. And then another part, which is called the shoot, because it shoots right up through the soil, right? It's the part of the plant that you're going to see above the soil, right? Lots of times we don't see what's happening down here. We see what's happening up there. And that's the part we see is the shoot. So the shoot starts going towards the sun. It wants to reach for the sun. The roots get pulled down by gravity. So what do you have? You've got a plant that's getting pulled down by gravity with its roots, and it's growing up to reach the sun. It's never going to reach the sun, right? We know that, but it's going to try its whole life. So we've got a plant that's growing down deeper and growing up. So it's doing this at the same time, right? Just like when you see a plant grow. A seed is clever. Plants know to seek the sunlight, right? We said that they reach towards the sun to push itself up through the soil, but it must wait a while before that happens. Plants make their own food through a process called photosynthesis. It's a big word and it is an important word, but it's something that you'll learn about in coming years in science. Really, photosynthesis is the way that a plant takes sunlight and converts it into energy that makes food for itself, because it can't just live on water, right? It needs nutrients and food. It does that, it makes energy in order to grow and make a flower and make seeds and stay healthy through that photosynthesis. A seed is sleepy, but only until it has found a place in the sun and it has had its breakfast and a drink of water. Then a seed is, what do you think? Awake. Those are sunflowers. Here are some more really interesting seed types. And again, I will take a picture and make sure that you can get a look at these. Dandelion seeds floating through the air, trying to find a place to root down, right? And that is the end of A Seed is Sleepy by Diana Hutz Aston and Sylvia Long.